The ground shook as the massive transport ship, known as the Galvanizer, hovered into position above the dark, dusty plains of Vega Prime. At its prow, a dozen Zing silhouettes zipped back and forth, clutching rifles, their sleek forms unmistakable against the burnt umber landscape. They were the Liakari Marines, revered throughout the galaxy for their discipline, technology, and sheer ferocity in combat. They were about to give humanity's newest recruits their first taste of trial by fire. Touchdown in 10 rumbled a voice through the comms, a rhythmic pulse of authority. Captain Terran Vex, the Liakari squad leader, moved with the precision of a machine, her silver skin gleaming beneath the ship's artificial light. Her antennae flicked in anticipation. Prepare for surface ops? As a reminder, our goal is to see how fast we can break them. In the back of the transport, Private Isaac Quinn leaned against a wall, eyes closed, his worn-out boots hanging at an awkward angle. He was exhausted, both from the demanding training back on Earth and from the ship's ceaseless cacophony of engines and alien chatter. While the Liakari had already trained to tolerate extreme combat settings for the new human recruits, every jolt felt like a fresh reminder of their vulnerability. "Hey, hero. You plan on sleeping the whole mission?" a voice nudged him. It was Jade, another human private and Isaac's closest ally in this strange new world. He cracked one eye open and grinned at her, exposing a chip in his front tooth that somehow made his smile bright. "If you're going to keep talking about sleep, I just might put you to sleep instead. Or at least intend to." "Sure you could," she shot back with a smirk, "right after you finish the snap first." She tossed him a pack of nutrient bars. Isaac took one, tearing it open and chewing absently, the bland taste of the algae protein filling his mouth. Still, it was better than the gel packs they had been living on. He stood up, shaking off exhaustion, and stretched, feeling the ache in his muscles. "Don't push it, Quinn. The Marines will be on us in just a moment," Jade said, her brown curls catching the flickering lights as clouded thoughts gusted through her mind, mixing with worry about missions ahead. Outside, the heavy clank of the dropship doors opening sent a rush through the squad. Isaac could hear Terran's voice overriding the growing commotion. "Stick together. Human oddities are a secondary target. Your performance here will be everything to the Federation. Whatever you do, do not break." Isaac stepped out onto the rocky expanse, a whirlwind of sticks and stones, flickering dark clouds framing the eerie alien sky. The surface registered a strange assortment of colors, greens that should have belonged to forests and hues of orange that looked like thermal radiation all at once. Already he spotted a handful of Liakari Marines, synchronized as they navigated the terrain like dancers across a stage. His heart quickened. There was an unspoken awe about them. Centuries of combat had stripped them down to the core of functionality, each movement precise and deliberate. But swirling in that awe was a twinge of panic. Could humans ever match this? "See those rocks?" Jade pointed, the adrenaline punctuating her breath. "Looks like something's hiding behind them. We should check it out." They moved closer, Isaac leading reluctantly, excitement and fear wrestling within him. He glanced back at the waiting Liakari, their alien eyes glimmering in the dim light. "What if they think we can't handle it? I mean, they did recruit us expecting us to break." He joked, though as he saw the grit of the Marines' expressions, it felt less like humor and more like a gamble of reality. "You said it. Not me," Jade replied with a light laugh. "We're tougher than they think." But were they? Isaac swallowed hard as they edged toward the rocks, his senses sharpening. Suddenly, a rumble came from behind the large formation, and without warning, several grotesque creatures leapt forward. Green-skinned with serrated limbs and bulging eyes, they surged at the recruits, sheer instinct kicking in. Isaac was the first to react. He aimed low at a hulking creature barreling toward him. The sound of his rifle firing satisfied him for just a moment, but with the blast came surprise, not strength. To his left, he heard Jade fire her weapon too, managing to take down another creature. "Watch your flanks. They're all around us," a voice shouted, causing Isaac's heart to race. It was Terran, unflinching against the chaos surrounding them. Only moments into the fray, excitement surged through Isaac's veins, but weariness clung heavily to his bones. He ducked behind a crag and fired another shot, spotting a few Liakari furiously engaged in battle. Brow furrowed, he couldn't resist suppressing a chuckle. This was ruthlessly wild. If the Liakari Marines had underestimated them before, this would be a rude awakening. Lasers lit up the arena like a comet shower as more alien forms lunged forward. Jade, moving with brash enthusiasm, peppered the creatures with blast after blast. In the chaos, someone screamed, but it wasn't one of the soldiers, it was a slip-up, or maybe a misfire. Still, Earthling camaraderie kicked in as Isaac rallied, determined to make an impression on their alien allies. Suddenly, a foot soldier beside him fell to his knees, paralyzed from an assault. Without thinking, Isaac moved instinctively, reaching for the weapon of the fallen soldier to cover him. "Keep firing! Keep moving!" Jade shouted amidst the deafening sounds of conflict. Isaac couldn't believe what he heard himself say next, his laughter echoing over the blaster fire. "What do you mean? I thought we were meant to break." "Break? No way," she said, perspiration rolling down her cheeks, a wild grin on her lips fueled by adrenaline. "We're just getting started." The weight of their actions hit hard as the battlefield whirled. Adrenaline sharpened their focus, human spirit soaring in that moment as they fought with an unexpected resilience. Underneath the blaring alarms and incandescent fire, as Isaac took another shot, he thought maybe, just maybe, it was the Liakari who would learn what it truly meant to endure. The battlefield throbbed with intensity, pulsating like a heart in pain, aching under the weight of growing chaos. Isaac could feel his breath hitching as he ducked behind a jagged rock formation, barrel of his rifle hot against his palms. Sweat beaded on his forehead, mixing with the dust that clouded the air, but still he pressed on. The noise of blasters etched into his mind, a cacophony of desperation and emboldened humanity. "Oh, they're definitely watching us now," Jade whispered, eyes bright as she peeked over the edge of the rock. "Who said we would break?" Right, her voice was nearly drowned out by the clanging noise of combat, but it carried an electric current of determination. Amidst the chaos, Isaac noticed the Liakari squad, a blend of diaphanous skin shimmering under the harsh light and resolute expressions, moving with pristine efficiency even as they took on the alien menace. One of them, Saris, with striking blue patterns traced across his sleek body, caught his gaze, each movement fluid, his gun sparking as it fired, yet he remained acutely aware of Isaac and Jade's actions. As an alien charged, Saris swung away from his foe, weaving effortlessly toward a corner of their makeshift line. "Isaac! Behind you!" Jade's voice cut through, and he pivoted just in time, squeezing the trigger instinctively, the energy pulse erupting like a starburst. The creature stumbled back before disintegrating, leaving a smoking void in the air. But as it fell, he noted another wave of aliens heading his way, relentless like a rising tide. Each shot unleashed made Isaac's weariness retreat further into the shadows, emotions tumbling into a chaotic mix of victory and fear. "Stay connected," he shouted over the din. Suddenly, another exclamation rang out. Terran had followed through a narrow opening between rocks, engaging two aliens at once, as if taunting them to test her resolve. Isaac observed the peak of skill and courage a humans will intertwined with alien ingenuity, and for the first time realized that their success here could ripple through the unknown world of military cohesion and cultural understanding. But then the ground shook, sending a tremor that rattled the boulders around them. An enormous alien creature emerged from the dust, taller than any that had charged them earlier, a bruised monstrosity with scales and jagged spikes lined across its back. "Everyone fall back," Terran commanded, and the Liakari gave way, their laser beams still darting past as they attempted to chip away at the approaching giant. But Isaac didn't move. His pulse quickened as he exchanged glances with Jade, their thoughts in sync. "Let's do something," she breathed. The two shifted positions, using the chaos to their advantage, thoughtfully retracing their steps toward the wider aperture of the rocky landscape. They had learned things since they first arrived, combat instincts forged through relentless training and organic unity carved from fatigue. Together, they accessed a gentle slope hidden behind a cluster of smaller rocks. Energy swirled through them, equal parts adrenaline and purpose. "Get its attention," Isaac said, already taking a position beside her. With one bold flourish, Jade threw a small grenade, catching the beast in its direct line of sight. The explosion erupted, a flare of colors painting the twilight like auroras. It roared in rage, turning ferociously toward them, only to meet Isaac's blast that struck true against its thick hide. To their surprise, what followed wasn't fear. The creature staggered, its movement unwieldy, and in that pivotal moment they returned to their training, firing in strategic tandem. As the moments passed, they found an unexpected rhythm, the roar of the chaotic battlefield fading like a distant echo. They moved fluidly, as if in a dance, a human choreography infusing itself with alien artistry. On 3. 1, 2. They fired in unison, managing to land a barrage that brought the creature to its knees. Dust scattered wildly, and for a heartbeat, silence hung in the air. The tide of battle hung firmly in their grasp, but as another wave of aliens advanced, that victory felt fleeting. Just as they reloaded, Cirrus burst from the cloud of dust nearby, aloof yet deliberately effective. He locked eyes with them, and for a split second, Isaac glimpsed not just an alien soldier but a partner amid the pandemonium. With a quick nod, Cirrus leaped forward, bending low as he used his agility to flank the advancing enemies. Jade grinned, her breath softening despite the clamor. They're learning from us too. The fighting continued to ebb and flow, a tempest of ingenuity crafted through sheer will. Hours blurred into each other, bathed in the silence of exertion. Fatigue took residence inside Isaac's bones, but the urgency fueled him, urging him to keep his feet planted, not breaking with every incursion. Yet fatigue does not exist in a vacuum. One of the Liakari fell wounded, stumbling in a mass of chaos. Terran was there, barking orders even as she marshaled her own energy reserves. We can't just shoot blindly. We need a plan. Isaac felt a sense of urgency thrum in his veins at her words. We pushed back, advanced toward the galvanizer, he yelled above the noise before the next wave hit. Terran's attention whirled from the surrounding violence and back to him. For just a flicker, he sensed respect bridge the gap between the two of them. As Terran shouted orders to rally their weary forces, he made a mistake he had never dared to think before. He spoke without the veil of fear. If we coordinate our energy sources, we could create a diversion behind the rocky reefs. I can. The ferocity and elasticity in Terran's eyes sharpened. Lead the charge, Quinn. If we can split their forces, we might just give ourselves the edge. Seizing the resolve, Isaac charged ahead, calling Jade along with him. They pressed deep into the fray, all while dodging enemy fire, the echoes of while still pressing forward, their breath mingling in the clamor of an uncertain world. Isaac was surrounded, the army of aliens converging on them like galloping shadows soaked in hostility. Terran's intentions were clear, the weight of leadership tangible, a test of humanity's ability to adapt, to connect and innovate in the face of fear. We're more than what they thought, Jade called out, charging alongside him, determination coiling through her every step. The enemy was relentless, each step a dance with danger, and within the heart of it all, Isaac felt himself shift. The fatigue faded, obscured by a core of unyielding tenacity. The fear that had gripped him before ebbed into the distance, an ember amidst the storm, pulsing with resolve. Then came the throaty growl of command. The galvanizer, poised above, unleashed its weaponry in calculated brilliance. Bursts of light cascaded over the battlefield, flattening a path forward as the beasts were struck down. Isaac halted, struck by the vivid vision of survival woven through chaos. The camaraderie was unspoken, the embedded cross-species resolve that transcended their origins. Jade reached for his arm, pulling him close in a moment of shared breath. Now. Together they surged through, a force to be reckoned with, still pressing, still moving, towards the heart of something greater than themselves. In a world once brimming with doubt, amidst the centrifuge of fear, they turned it around, finding their lives tangled with those crafted far across the cosmos, and what had once been a theory of breaking now breathed with life, bubbling with potential. As both species found a combined strength they had never known they shared. And as Isaac fought through the night, sleep tempted him, but he shrugged it off for another heartbeat, another pulse of human endurance against the darkness. He wouldn't break, not today. The battle raged on as the sun's light filtered unevenly through the swirling dust of Vega Prime. Isaac Quinn had lost all sense of time. Minutes felt like hours, hours felt like days, and still the relentless pulse of adrenaline drove him forward. The chaotic landscape around him had come alive, filled with flashes of color and crackling energy, yet amid the noise, there was clarity of focused purpose ignited by necessity. Form up. We're making a push, Terran's voice cut through the tumult. Isaac's heart raced as he took stock of the other human recruits standing beside him. They had transitioned from anxious newcomers to resilient comrades. It was a transformation born from the fire of battle, both formative and profound. Jade gripped his shoulder, her face streaked with dirt and determination. You ready for this? She asked, her tone edged with urgency. Nevermore, Isaac replied, a fervor bubbling within him. Somehow, with exhaustion creeping ever closer, he found strength in the solidarity of his fellow soldiers. As Terran directed the troops forward, the alien forces regrouped, approaching like a wave ready to crash over them. Isaac and his squad was positioned closer together than before, a mixing of human grit and Liakari finesse. They wielded their weapons with newfound precision, adopting strategies they had learned through instinct as much as through training. Their jade pointed to the taller aliens gathering at the front, their coordinated formations suggesting they were preparing for a powerful offensive. Terran's eyes sparked with a feral intensity. Isaac, if you can lure them into the canyon, we can use the terrain to our advantage. We'll cut them off. Isaac nodded, his heart hammering. On it, he thought for a moment, formulating a plan that combined diverting tactics and the innate unpredictability of human nature. I'll take the left flank, he called back to Jade. Throw some grenades, make it look like we're retreating. She met his gaze, a flicker of trust shining through. You can count on me. With renewed purpose fueling him, Isaac turned and sprinted, ducking low behind rocks as he maneuvered toward an elevation that would provide a clear view of the canyon. He could hear Jade's shouted commands behind him, fired with energy as she threw grenades, the puffs of smoke masking their position. The metallic whir of the alien forces mobilizing grew louder as shadows moved closer. Isaac breathed deep, feigning a twinge of nervousness as he peeked out from his hiding place. Just as he had planned, the enemy was drawn and their coordination began to unravel as they focused on the simulated retreat. As they charged into the canyon, Isaac felt the ground rumble beneath them, the strategy more than sound. Now he yelled. With a synchronized effort, Terran and the other Liakari Marines unleashed a torrential barrage of laser fire from their concealed positions. Clouds of smoke and debris erupted in the canyon below, and the ensuing chaos rendered the aliens vulnerable as they took stock of their situation. Look alive. Move up, Terran commanded, her voice brimming with urgency. Isaac joined her, adrenaline surging as he rushed to the flanking side, firing at whatever came into his view. The maneuver had created the breathing room they so desperately needed. Isaac felt an energy swell within, ignited by desperation and unity. In the heat of battle, the thrill of living amidst the chaos overshadowed everything else, including the oppressive fatigue clawing at his bones. He was aware of Jade's presence, a silent but strong reassurance behind him. Fire at will, Terran roared, sweeping her weapon expertly through the onslaught. Isaac's mind worked fast, devising, adapting, tapping into the limits of his resources. Dodging incoming projectiles, he seized another grenade. With a swift flick of his wrist, it sailed toward an enemy squad that had rallied just outside the canyon mouth. A fresh explosion sent clouds billowing upward, a smokescreen concealing their approaches. The stunned aliens faltered for a moment, their advance breaking as confusion took hold. We keep pushing. We need to bring them to their knees, Terran rallied, her tone fierce and commanding. Isaac caught sight of Saris, just beyond his field of view, ducking beside him with his crystalline skin glinting in the chaos, a signal for unity within an unpredictable situation. Eyes narrowed in focus, Isaac raised his rifle, his pulse quickening as the strange mix of fear and exhilaration danced across his body. This is for Earth, he thought fiercely, and turned to charge with his newfound allies toward the heart of the encroaching swarm. As they surged together, Isaac finally slipped up, exhaustion starting to claw at the corners of his bravado. But he wouldn't collapse, they had come too far. Every step pressed him deeper into the maelstrom, the chaos wrapping around him like a tempest. He fired, ducked, rolled, doing everything he could to stay mobile. Noticing a critical gap, he decided to funnel the enemy deeper into covered positions. Get ready, he shouted, a bright grin splitting through the sweat and dust on his face. I've got one more trick up my sleeve. Jade's features grew stern as she realized Isaac's intentions. You can't be serious. That's it. Trust me, he fired back, his mind racing towards ingenuity. It was a risk, but at that moment, every burden of fatigue paled against his intuition. Using a stretch of fallen debris, he gathered his energy, rolling into position where he could start sporadically detonating detonators hidden under the rock field. The explosions would herald chaos among the enemy ranks, pulling them deeper into unfathomable disarray. Now he shouted, struggling against the growing heaviness in his limbs. The explosions erupted, creating desperate panic among the advancing aliens. Isaac grinned as he found himself moving along with the cascading chaos around him, feeling buoyed by renewed adrenaline, while his heart hammered loudly in his chest. In perfect coordination, Terran shouted, her authoritative voice slicing through the mayhem. Push. Push. We have them rattled. What happened next was a marvel of instinct and collaboration. Isaac, Terran, Saris, and Jade pushed forward, bodies flowing with purpose, advanced deeper into the fray while lethal energy beams sliced past them. They maneuvered, ducking and weaving through the disarray of attacking aliens. Isaac didn't know how long they had been fighting anymore, only realizing the steady distance they were creating in their combined efforts. Somehow they had become a single entity, a well-oiled machine fueled entirely by raw resourcefulness. Their gazes locked and found trust, weaving seamlessly through the carnage. There was life in the air, a pulse that together they kept alive. Just as they began feeling the thrill of possible victory, Isaac caught a fleeting glimpse of the alien leader. A hulking figure lingering behind the skirmish, eyes gleaming with malice and recognition of the impending failure. "That's our target," Jade exclaimed, pointing as they swiftly regained their balance, emerging victorious from the fray. They unleashed their combined firepower with fervor, the Liakari laser beams striking as loudly as Isaac's rifle. The alien leader faltered, a chaotic mixture of shock and fury flashing across its features as he remained resolute amid the shifting tide. Isaac felt exhilaration empower him as they closed the distance, their formation flickering even as the enemy leader stepped backward in a desperate attempt for command. "This is it," Isaac shouted, the roar of the fury of combat enveloping him. "Time to finish this." He hurled a grenade, feeling the slight shift of time around him as it soared forward in a burst of brilliance, merging with the frantic energy around them. The explosion pulsed a shockwave of brilliance, sending fragments sailing, clouds of dust erupting in all directions. In the cloud of smoke, the sight that met Isaac's gaze was breathtaking. The enemy leader, caught in the brunt of the blast, fell unceremoniously to the ground among its fractured following. Isaac stood there momentarily stunned, reality shifting around him, a crescendo of unyielding strength accompanied by shrieks of both victory and chaos. He turned to Terran, whose eyes mirrored his disbelief. "Did we just?" "Yes, we did," she shouted, her laughter mingling with the triumph of their achievement. "Now let's finish off the stragglers." But even as they charged forward, the tide shifted. The connection between them transcended species, each member of the squad understood, trapped inside the whirlwind of battle's intensity. As they pressed on, exhaustion began to creep in, but it had transformed into something sharper, a fiery purpose fueled by camaraderie. The combined determination surged with every step, forging them into a collective force more potent than individual wills. Through the haze of alien chaos, one bold thought struck Isaac. He didn't just want to survive, he wanted to create lasting change, to indicate to his alien comrades that humanity was more than the fragile creatures they had presumed. Before long, the battlefield unveiled the remnants of their success. Panic spread amongst the enemy ranks, their formations fractured, tactics abandoned in surrender to instinctive retreat. The final pulse of the fight rang through the air. The alien forces yielded, their unyielding advance broken at the hands of a disparate unit unified by tenacity and resolve. They emerged victorious not merely as humans allied with Liakari Marines, but as a force that had proven resilient against time and expectations. As the dust began to settle, Isaac heard Jade's voice cut through the remains of battle, ringing with laughter and relief. "We showed them." "Human ingenuity," Saris added, echoing the momentous significance of what had transpired, the regard he held for them visibly shifting. Terran grinned, glancing between the humans and the Liakari Marines. "They thought we would break. But look at us, we've created something greater through unforeseen barriers." Isaac was about to respond when fatigue surged over him in a wave, finally catching up. The world blurred for a second, but before he could slump to the ground, Jade was there, lifting him, her presence grounding him amid the fatigue of battle. For the first time, Isaac dared to embrace the weight of emotion in that moment, a potent mixture of relief and triumph catching in his throat. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting brilliant hues over the battlefield, Isaac felt hope bloom within him, the distant future, a continuation of shared strength, a promise etched within the souls of all who fought. Together they had found a spirit that would echo across space and time, reminding the universe that humanity was no mere pawn in a cosmic game, but a vital player capable of extraordinary adaptability, daring creativity, and enduring will. And for Isaac, while the scars of war would inevitably remain, it was the bonds forged in trust and perseverance that defined this experience, a revelation that propelled him forward, knowing they had barely begun to spark the depths of potential yet untold.